Gerald Eugene Stano, born Paul Zaninger, was an American serial killer who confessed to murdering 41 women. Though police suspect his victim count could be as high as 88. Active primarily in Florida, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania from the late 1960s to 1980, Stano targeted young women and girls, often hitchhikers or sex workers, luring them with charm before stabbing, strangling, or shooting them in brutal acts of violence. Arrested in 1980 and convicted of multiple murders, he was executed in Florida's electric chair on March 23, 1998. In this documentary, we'll explore Stano's horrific crimes through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis to uncover what drove this seemingly unremarkable man to become a prolific killer. Why shine a spotlight on Gerald Stano? Because his case is a psychological enigma, a chilling blend of charm, rage, and manipulation that makes a perfect study in the mind of a serial killer. His crimes weren't just violent. They were personal, fueled by a deep-seated need to dominate women who rejected him. Picture this. A young hitchhiker, maybe 17-year-old Kathy Lee Scharf, climbing into Stano's muscle car on a balmy Florida night in 1973. He's all smiles, offering a ride, but when she laughs at his advances, his face twists. In a flash, he pulls a knife, stabbing her repeatedly, blood soaking the car seats as her screams fade. Or Barbara Bauer, strangled in her own car after Stano fakes a dead battery to lure her close. His methods, stabbing, strangling, shooting, varied, but the outcome was always the same: a lifeless body dumped in a ditch or wooded area, covered with branches to hide his sin. Stano's ability to blend into society while preying on vulnerable women makes his psyche a twisted puzzle, one we're here to unravel. Let's rewind to Schenectady, New York, 1951, where Paul Zaninger was born into a nightmare. His biological mother neglected him so severely that at 6 months old, county doctors deemed him unadoptable, saying he functioned at an animalistic level, even eating his own feces to survive. For siblings were also given up for adoption, a family fracture from the start. Enter Norma and Eugene Stano, a nurse and her husband, who adopted him, renaming him Gerald. They were loving, but Gerald was already damaged. He struggled with bedwetting, lied compulsively, and faced relentless bullying at school for his awkwardness. By 14, he was arrested for pulling a false fire alarm and throwing rocks at cars, early signs of a restless, defiant mind. Psychologically, Stano's early neglect was a ticking bomb. Attachment theory tells us that a child deprived of maternal care can develop deep insecurity, often leading to disorders like borderline personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder. BPD could explain his impulsivity and intense emotional swings, while ASPD fits his lack of empathy and disregard for rules. His compulsive lying and theft, stealing from his father's wallet to bribe track teammates to lose so he wouldn't look like a failure, point to a desperate need for validation. Psychoanalytically, his mother's neglect likely created a narcissistic injury, a wound to his self-esteem that fueled rage against women, who he saw as extensions of the mother who abandoned him. School was no refuge. Bullied for his grades, he internalized rejection, setting the stage for a lifetime of resentment. What pushes a troubled kid to become a serial killer? For Stano, it was a toxic mix of rejection, rage, and a need to dominate. By his late teens, he was already spiraling, arrested for theft, fired from jobs for stealing, and even raping a mentally disabled girl who became pregnant, with his parents paying for her abortion. He claimed his first kill in 1969 in New Jersey at 18, though evidence was thin. By the early 1970s in Florida, his violence exploded. The FBI suggests serial killers like Stano kill for psychological gratification, anger, thrill-seeking, or control. For Stano, it was all about power. Women who rejected him, laughed at him, or challenged his fragile ego became targets for his fury. Psychologically, this aligns with the rape-lust typology, where killers like Stano derive pleasure from dominating victims, often triggered by perceived slights. His reaction to rejection, stabbing a hitchhiker who mocked his advances, suggests a catathymic crisis, where intrusive violent thoughts become a warped solution to emotional pain. His charm, described by reporter Kathy Kelly as a gentle approach with open neck shirts, masked a predator who snapped when women didn't comply. Psychoanalytically, his murders were a twisted attempt to reclaim the control he lost in childhood, each kill a way to punish the women who echoed his mother's abandonment. His muscle car, a symbol of masculinity, was his hunting ground, a place where he could lure and destroy. Why young women, mostly hitchhikers and sex workers? Stano's choice was no accident. These women, often vulnerable, transient, and less likely to be missed, were perfect prey for a predator who thrived on control. Susan Bickrest, 24, an aspiring cosmetologist, was kidnapped from her job in Daytona Beach in 1975. Bonnie Hughes, 25, was beaten to death near a highway in 1976. Ramona Neal, 18, was found in Tomoka State Park, her body hidden under branches. Most victims were Caucasian, aged 16 to 25, fitting a profile that mirrored the women who rejected him in youth. Psychologically, this reflects dehumanization. He saw them as objects, not people, likening killing them to stepping on a cockroach. Psychoanalytically, his victim selection was a form of projection. Women, especially those who laughed or rebuffed him, became stand-ins for his mother's neglect and the girls who mocked him. Sex workers and hitchhikers were easy targets, their lifestyles making them less likely to be traced, as noted by Detective Paul Crowe. His ability to charm, using his car or feigned kindness, points to a sociopathic knack for manipulation. He'd offer help, a ride, a fix for a dead battery, only to turn predator when control slipped. This mirrors the power control motive, where rape and murder were tools to dominate, not just lust-driven act. Stano's murders were brutal, each one a snapshot of his fractured psyche. Imagine 17-year-old Kathy Lee Scharf, hitching a ride in December 1973. Stano pulls over, all smiles, but when she laughs his clumsy advance, his face darkens. He pulls a gun, shoots her multiple times, and dumps her body in a ditch, covering it with dirt. Or Barbara Bauer, lured into her own car with a fake story about a dead battery. Stano strangles her in the back seat, her hands clawing at as life drains away, her body left in a wooded area. His methods varied, stabbing, strangling, shooting, but always ended with a body concealed, often in shallow graves or under branches, as with Ramona Neal. Psychologically, this variability suggests an anger typology where rage drove his violence, often escalating to overkill when victims resisted. Stabbing, as in the case of an unidentified woman found in 1980 with torso wounds, shows a personal, hands-on fury. His need to hide bodies points to a mix of shame and pragmatism, a trait common in organized killers with ASPD. Yet his confessions detailing victims' clothing, like a shirt reading, "Do it in the dirt," reveal a compulsive need to relive the act, a hallmark of sadistic personality disorder. The Jacksonville.com reported Stano's chilling calm during confessions, describing kills with eerie detachment, a sign of psychopathy. The turning point came from a survivor, Donna Hensley, a sex worker who escaped Stano's attack in 1980. Bloodied and terrified, she staggered to a hotel clerk, who called police. Hensley knew Stano. She'd seen him before, as had other prostitutes with similar horror stories. She described the car and where he worked. Detective Paul Crowe recalled, leading to Stano's arrest at a Daytona Beach hotel. Crowe, using a good cop approach, built rapport, coaxing confessions over 6 years. Stano saw Crowe as a friend, spilling details of 41 murders, though some, like reporter Kathy Kelly, noted his charm masked a need for attention. The fallout was devastating. Families, like those of Kathy Scharf and Mary Marr, a 20-year-old college student, grieved as bodies were identified. The New York Times reported Stano's claim that victims were responsible for their own fate, a chilling deflectio. Controversy swirled. Some, like Detective James Gadbury, argued Crowe spoon-fed details, leading to false confessions. A 2007 FBI DNA report found no match for one crime scene, fueling doubts. Yet, Stano's confessions, detailed in Kelly's book I Would Find a Girl Walking, matched enough evidence to convict him for multiple murders. His case exposed flaws in the justice system, from coerced confessions to unchecked police tactics. Stano's arrest in 1980 came after Hensley's escape. Initially denying the assault, he cracked under Crowe's questioning, confessing to Mary Muldoon's murder and dozens more. His trials were chaotic, convicted of 33 murders. He faced a hung jury in one case, relying on a discredited jailhouse informant, Clarence Zack, whose lies later freed another man, sentenced to death for Kathy Sharp's murder in 1983. Stano's taped confession detailed her shooting, with the court citing its heinous, atrocious, and cruel nature. A 1997 electric chair malfunction delayed his execution, but on March 23, 1998, he was strapped in. "I'm innocent. I was threatened," he claimed, voice shaking, before the current took him. Witnesses, including victims' families, watched as he barely jerked. Dead in a minute. What does Stano's story mean? Philosophically, it's a tug-of-war between choice and fate. Existentialists would say Stano chose his path. Each kill a deliberate act of asserting power over a world that rejected him. His charm, his car, his calculated lures were tools of a man who embraced his darkness. Yet, a deterministic view points to his brutal start. Neglect so severe it left him animalistic, a psyche wired for chaos by a mother who abandoned him. His confessions, possibly coerced, raise questions. Was he a monster or a man manipulated? His final plea of innocence suggests a flicker of self-awareness. But his crimes, 41 women gone, scream of a void where empathy should be. Stano's execution closed a chapter, but his legacy lingers in the pain of families and a system that may have failed both him and his victims. It's a grim reminder. Evil can grow from the smallest wounds, and society must watch for signs.